Behold, then, the latest convulsion in our perpetually hyperventilating tech circus. An unheralded Chinese startup styling itself Deepseek proclaims it has ascended into the exalted company of Silicon Valley's AI mandarins. One can practically hear the delirious press squealing with delight, peddling the tall tale that a modest, thrifty enterprise, operating on budgets that must look comically meager beside America's galactic outlays, has rattled OpenAI's once unchallenged throne. To read the puff pieces, you'd think we were witnessing a thunderous populist festival, replete with banners declaring the triumphant arrival of a cheap upstart to depose a crowned king. Alas, such talk is rarely more than wishful hearsay. Anyone who actually keeps score in these matters knows that OpenAI's true champion responds to the illustrious name ChatGPT-01 Pro, an elaborate contraption with a steep $200 monthly toll that for now stands upon an unbudgeable dais of superiority. Yes, the unwashed peasants, those using the more humble and mercifully cheaper ChatGPT variants, may well be usurped by Deepseek's cunning new approach. But as for dethroning the reigning sovereign, not so fast, my friends. It remains a dull but vital distinction, apparently too dreary for the clamour of headlines hungry for a good old-fashioned Cinderella story, one that reduces every nuance to the plucky underdog overthrowing the fat, complacent oligarch. And thus do we mistake a reasonable approximation for a genuine coup d'etat. Invention and commerce are perpetually haunted by the ghost of good enough that chant, often delivered in the sanctimonious tones of the cost-conscious, that the grand masterpiece with all its exorbitant frills can be undone by a budget knockoff. The analogy leaps to mind: a cheap ragtag orchestra that scrapes through Beethoven without half the rehearsals, or the bargain camera that provides a passable photo while eschewing the refinements of its pricier rival. Does it supplant genuine excellence? Hardly. But the siren call is strong, and predictably it awakens the rabble-rousing impulse that enough is enough, down with the pricey incumbents. The masses, ever inclined to confuse cost-cutting with outright triumph, gulp down the new storyline with unseemly eagerness. Financial commentators emit panicked shrieks, Nvidia's stock wobbles, chipmakers quake, and every energy executive wonders if they've been fleeced. All because a Chinese newcomer purports to do tomorrow's heavy lifting at a fraction of yesterday's hardware cost. One can almost taste the sweet vindication in the air. At last, an outfit from beyond the Great Wall has allegedly proven that Silicon Valley's trillion-dollar burn rate might be all smoke and mirrors. In this heady atmosphere, one or two among the chattering class have concluded, most rashly, that efficiency gains equate to a total, incontestable claim to the AI throne. Let us lance that particular bubble forthwith. If we were talking about classical music, scholarly research, or the harsh crucible of international sport, nobody would be daft enough to suggest that a near equal is indistinguishable from the gold medalist. You do not award first place to the athlete who nearly matches the champion's pace, but stumbles on the final lap. Nor do you declare some painting to be a legitimate Van Gogh merely because at a casual glance it looks close enough. Carnival barkers may be entranced by such illusions, but those of us with even a vestige of discernment resist enthroning the second best simply because it's cheap. One might note, too, how neatly this entire drama chimes with Beijing's broader ambitions. To project a soft power wave of technological self-sufficiency, if not outright supremacy. Deepseek, with its lowered barriers and suspiciously deft performance, rockets to the top of app charts, delighting millions who yearn to see anyone but an American behemoth lead the AI charge. Its success also taps into the West's own socio-economic schisms. People love a redemption story, especially one that resonates with class resentments. Here comes the austere upstart to topple the gilded aristocrats of the AI world. In our era of mounting inequality and anti-elitist fervour, nothing warms the cockles of the crowd quite like the sudden possibility that paying $200 monthly for a fancy piece of wizardry might be gratuitous all along. Yet we must query, is Deepseek truly superior or merely cheaper? Every reputable test suggests it can best the prosaic ChatGPT in some realms of fact-checking, specialized queries, and the odd creative flourish. So far, so good. But pitted against ChatGPT-01 Pro, the snazzy budget wonder stumbles in tasks that require advanced logic, painstaking reasoning, or unwavering consistency. For those connoisseurs, researchers, top-tier developers, the exacting few, this is hardly a knockout blow. Let it be said, then, that approximating the champion is not the same as dethroning the champion. That fact, of course, languishes unsung in the general pandemonium, which prefers the lurid rumour of a new usurper. Deepseek dethrones ChatGPT, proclaims the sensational headline that could have been penned by the most breathless scribes of yesteryear. Delighted are those who resent the unstoppable American AI juggernaut. Investors who bet everything on the lavish budgets of the West now experience a mild cardiac flutter, wondering if they wasted their fortunes on Rolls-Royce computing when a Ford would have sufficed. The mania swirls, fueled by those eternal illusions that history ironically replays whenever a cheaper alternative appears, only to fade when more sobering assessments show up. Do not, in all this excitement, forget the small matter of privacy and security. The same Western world that only recently howled about the data-gobbling potential of TikTok has now happily embraced another Chinese platform with an appetite for user information. The irony is thick enough to spread on toast. Our sworn anxieties about foreign surveillance evidently shrink under the bright lights of a cut-price miracle machine, leaving one to wonder if this is merely collective amnesia or a wily display of selective outrage. So we arrive at the heart of this spectacle. Crowning Deepseek at this juncture is a testament less to actual supremacy and more to the potent lure of populist fantasy. For a public that increasingly rails against highfalutin elitists, it's all too tempting to greet the upstart's arrival with cries of "The king is dead!" The misconceived logic goes that if you can buy a cheaper contraption that works nearly as well, then the original was never necessary, only a frill-laden indulgence. But in fields that truly matter, medicine, nuclear technology, aviation, no one is mad enough to ditch proven excellence for a discount that's almost as good. We somehow grasp in those realms that second-rate solutions can be catastrophic. Credit is due, of course, to the Chinese marvel that has unveiled a notably efficient method for training these linguistic conjurers, and it will surely jolt the rest of the industry into heightened competition. But let us not confuse admirably efficient with peerless. The minute we allow penny-pinching to masquerade as a claim to ultimate superiority, we reduce the entire field to a ridiculous carousel of ephemeral announcements, each proclaiming the next unstoppable revolution. Serious progress is overshadowed by the cheap thrill of sensational headlines. And so here we stand. It's all very well to greet cost-effective innovation with due applause. But let's not hand over the scepter to a challenger that still shows in direct competition its numerous gaps and shortcomings. While the media lavish praise on Deepseek for its cunning frugality, ChatGPT-o1 Pro sits unruffled, still the standard-bearer for those who demand the absolute apex of AI capability. Hard though it may be to stomach in our populist-inflected moment, sometimes the gold medal goes to the one with deeper pockets and the patience, and yes, capital, to perfect the craft. In truth, the mania surrounding Deepseek appears far more symptomatic of our cultural impatience and latent resentments than it does an unassailable testament to better engineering. It dovetails with the West's wish to see new challengers arise, dethroning the perennial overlords. It flatters our illusions of a humble David, here armed with minimalist GPU cycles, flattening the Goliath of seemingly limitless spending. Yet despite the roar of approval and the inevitable sensational coverage, the real Goliath stands firm, unperturbed. If we care about genuine excellence more than triumphant penny counting, the champion remains exactly where it was. Beneath the hype, one cannot shake the suspicion that Deepseek's meteoric rise is as much an instrument of national ambition and market agitation as it is a technological coup. Its story strokes the vanity of those who'd like to see the West dethroned from its conceited perch of perpetual innovation. Yet, for the moment, these yearnings serve chiefly to obscure the abiding truth. A cheaper near equal is still second place. A skillful forgery, if you like, is not the original Rembrandt on the museum's wall. Thus, unless and until something truly topples ChatGPT-o1 Pro, we do well to resist the beguiling illusions of budget triumph. For all the admiration we might afford Deepseek's feats of economical cunning, the legitimate summit of AI, let us be perfectly candid, has not shifted. And if we refuse that distinction, we cheapen the meaning of genuine accomplishment, condemning ourselves to be forever chasing one dramatic headline after another, rather than honoring the longest, brightest light in the firmament.